FSPN Food Service Power Plant Network. Yo, friends, it's that night where we connect, where we share stories, where we learn about someone, where we take some notes. It's Monday night on the Food Service Power Plant Network. We have a guest, Christopher East with Chrane Food Service Solutions out of Texas is joining us. And let me give you a couple bits of backstory and then a couple of tips before we bring Chris on. Backstory, I've known Chris, I don't know, years. Chris and I represented a couple lines together throughout the years, so we would see each other at different events and things like that. Chris had joined the MOFSI board. He was coming on a little bit before I was leaving, so we had that shared connection a little bit into that community, and we just became friends over the years. Chris is someone that I call if I'm at times when I'm going through hard stuff and say, Chris, can I pick your brain? And he'll always answer the phone and he'll always give me unbelievable, he'll listen really well and give me honest opinions on things. And so from a personal perspective, I'm really excited. He is also the 2020 or maybe it was 2021 Food Service Equipment and Supplies top achiever in the rep category. They do like rep, dealer, supplier, or I'm sorry, service agent, maybe manufacturer. I don't know all the ones they do, but they do a rep. Chris was the one. And he will tell you a million times over, hey, listen, really appreciate this honor. You got to look to my team, my partner and my team for why this honor came to our organization. And he's as humble and wanting to share the success stories of all his team as anyone I know. And so we're going to get to learn about that. What's that like? You know what? I don't even think I put that in my questions to him, but we're going to go there. So it's going to be amazing. Now, a couple of notes and thoughts for you. We've got people on. First, there's the love sign. Someone's excited about this. You are welcome to make comments. If you want to show some love to Chris, you can throw it in there just like the duck did explaining, I don't know how to do this. So you can throw comments in there. If you've got questions for Chris, you can ask questions. You can say, Chris, what do you usually do to start your day? Is there a favorite go-to breakfast? I don't know what your question would be, but you can ask it and we'll find out what it is. Also, boom, look who's in the house. Xena Dater's in the house. Oh my gosh. Hi, Xena. Lots of love to you, my friend. Also, remember the purpose of these conversations as you walk into this. I'm sure you're going to be entertained. Chris is awesome and he's fun and he's smart and he's got a lot of great things. And it's always fun. These conversations just are. But the whole principle and idea behind them is that success leaves clues, that Chris has things in his story which matter. And inevitably he's got things he's done, challenges he's overcome, risks he's taken that you might need to hear. That in the part of the journey that you're in, what Chris has accomplished, you might say, oh my gosh, if Chris could do that, maybe I can too. Maybe there's nuggets of wisdom and knowledge that you need to absorb in and bring into your life. I don't know what those things are, but always, 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 this is what happens. So if you have a notepad and a pen, I would encourage you to take some notes. And he might even teach you some fun things to do or pranks to do. So a couple things. Xena, love you. Love you too. Now, lastly, I'm going to pull this one up. David's looking forward to the conversation. David, what's up? This is someone. So I'm going to look on my phone right now, and I'm not like texting Shannon in the back of the house who's like, hey, Jay, get off the phone or, get off the computer. I'm trying to see who's making comments. So if you want to, you can go to StreamYard/Facebook real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Type in your name and we can see who you are, just like David did and just like Xena did. Who's this? Facebook user. I'm going to go on Facebook and see if I can see who this is so that we've got everyone. Exit. Uh-oh. Try again. 5 comments. It's not letting me play it, but that's okay. We're going to say, oh, Dwayne. That's Dwayne. Remember your chat. Apparently, Chris and Dwayne had a chat before this, and I'm excited to hear how that goes. Cliff Whitman should be a great conversation. I love it. We've got Nick Hughes watching. Cliff Whitman, a bunch of other people. Hi, everybody. Let's go find the man. Chris!
Hey!
Yo, hey, brother. How the heck are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. It was a Monday, but you know what? This is the highlight of the day. I get to spend the next hour or so with you and everyone else. And Xena, love you too.
Heck yeah. This is awesome. Xena, I love your love for Chris. And okay, Chris, let's talk about that on a Monday real quick. This wasn't a question. Do you have any pregame strategies going into a Monday? Like, are you a Sunday night I almost always do this, or Sunday afternoon, I look over the previous week. I make sure I've got all my ducks covered for the week coming. Do you have any of that kind of stuff in your life?
I do. Usually Sunday's a pretty big catch-up day for me. Trying to devote a few hours just to kind of set the table for the upcoming week. And I'm kind of a nerd, and my, I guess, pregame ritual, literally every night, the keys, the 2 pens. I always have a red Chrane pen, a blue Chrane pen, the wallet, now a mask and a handkerchief all go right next to my computer. And then I literally set out like my towel, and I set up my clothes and undershirt and underwear and all that. And anyway, make a long story short, I'm very ritual, as spontaneous as I can be in a lot of regards. I have to have, and my wife mercilessly makes fun of me for it. But I literally have been teaching my boys, like, I'll pull out everything out of my toiletry kit I know I need in the morning. So then when I use it, I put it back, and because we're teaching them, put deodorant on. And like, if you remember to pull it out and you got to put it back, then
yeah,
13-year-old boy, you remember to put your deodorant on. So, but yeah, I am very ritualistic in that regard. So
I love it. You mentioned like spontaneousness. I think when there's certain things, when there's so much that we leave to sort of, we hope we remember, that oftentimes our minds can get so crowded that we don't have the freedom to be spontaneous. Where if there's some things that you're really hardlined about, really ritual about, I know this is going to get covered, that might free some energy up for some other fun things that you might not have thought of otherwise.
That's I don't know. Because half the time I have no idea where my brain's going, and it's off somewhere in left field, and some idea I probably don't even need to publicly share is happening. And then the other times I'm OCD, and bullet points and Excel spreadsheets perfect and all that fun stuff. So anyway, I'm kind of a combination of the two.
Gail, hi. You're one of our favorite people. I love it. Gail. What do you do with the blue pen? What do you do with the red pen?
So I call them my nerd notes. So blue pen is taking general notes, and then red pen is an action item. So blue pen's always on top, red pen's below. I can just grab them subconsciously. Again, very much nerd OCD, but that's who I am. Better for worse, that's who I am. Anyone wants red or blue Chrane pens, happy to mail you some.
That is so awesome. You can define it however you want, as nerd, whatever. And I actually did therapy for OCD in my 20s, so I get you. I feel you. Yep. But I love that here's notes, here's action items. Again, how many people take notes in a day, a bunch of notes, and they get lost and they get confused? And which do I really need to do something with, or what is just something for me to remember? So freaking awesome. I love it. Okay. You are one of the founders of Chrane Food Service Solution, you and your partner, Dwayne.
Yep, Dwayne Guidry.
You founded together. So tell me how you got to that place in life, and you are today. When did you guys create it, by the way? When did you found it?
January 2nd, 2008 was the official open the doors. But we started it, I guess, ideation started probably about a year and a half before that. So Dwayne was he was factory direct with Cambro, was very successful in the Houston market. I had previously started my career, interned with the company, and then out of college worked for Dan Shore and Warren Goldsmith with Premier Equipment Group in Atlanta. Awesome guys. I learned a ton from that marketplace. Just a great place to really start the career. But I had aspirations of growing, and then I grew up in Texas, and ultimately made it back to Texas. Worked briefly with another rep group, but kind of the way it all came about was we were one of the group I was with in Texas was one of those groups that has anywhere from 30 to 50 manufacturers at any one given time, and we'd add manufacturers, but we wouldn't necessarily add the support to the staff, the technology, et cetera, to support it. And then Dwayne came from the opposite end of the spectrum. He was factory direct, which in a lot of markets, that makes sense. But his challenge was going to market with one product line, and only being able to talk to a customer so many times about that. And so kind of our peanut butter and chocolate moment was, his the discipline of having a limited number of manufacturers, but still the breadth of being able to perpetually be in front of those key customers with multiple lines. And so kind of that's where the idea of Chrane came about. So, to have a multi-line rep group, but to do so with that limited number of lines. So, and Dwayne since pre-day one, has been just, remarkable business partner. You can't put into words just how awesome it is to have somebody to truly, to legitimately, infinitely trust. That's an awesome feeling.
What a gift, man. What a gift. This is our buddy, Brad Ross. Thanks for the shout out to Premier Food Service Group. Love it. Brad, glad you're with us, man. And partnerships, I was fortunate enough to have two partners who are still my really good friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before I did that, there have been a lot of people who gave me warning. Partnerships can be hard or whatever. I was really fortunate. You're really fortunate. It's not all that common that you find a partner that you're tied into. Oftentimes you spend more time with them than your spouse, the amount of, and because you're working together and traveling and all of these things. It's a really lucky thing when you find someone, what did you say? Trust infinitely.
Well, and I'm not going to say it's easy. You equate it to a marriage or it just like marriage, it's not always easy, but most things that are worthwhile, you got to put the effort into. And we kind of have to date each other every once in a while, take each other out on dates and rekindle the romance and whatnot, metaphorically. But it's, there is a lot, and it does take a lot of work, and because we're both headstrong and we both sometimes think we have the right, the idea. And, but we also attack things from completely different angles, which makes, there's so much where I'll come out with an idea and he'll play devil's advocate, and it ultimately becomes a better idea because his perspective, or vice versa.
I think I love that you both, that's the gift you see in coming with different ideas. I think it was Maureen who said once, like, if there's someone on my team that thinks exactly, or I'm interviewing someone and they think the exact same way I do, I don't need them, because I know how I think. I need people who are thinking different than me. So all these ideas come together and we put them in a melting pot and we figure out what comes out and we're going to make of it. So I love that you recognize that as a strength.
No, absolutely.
Okay, you, Dwayne, your leadership team, Nick, et cetera, you got Meredith, a whole bunch of people who created a huge value on culture in your company. So much so that there's a name for what you all call yourselves. Your team, you all Craniacs, right?
We even have a few honorary Craniacs out there.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, you can be one if you want, Jason.
Oh, Chris, you're the best. I would love it. The spirit by which that seems to define, from my perspective, a Craniac is something that I would sign up for any day. I'm going to give you my perception, and then tell me what it means to you to build the culture and to be a Craniac. So it's fun. It's honest. It's really hardworking. It's always helping, regardless if it's a competitor, if it's someone you don't know. It's always being like, hey, I'm happy to help however I can. And it's fun, and it's fun, and it's fun. Tell me what a Craniac means to you.
I think you hit on a lot of them. We have 5 core values that we try to. They're not taglines. They're not something you just stick on a wall and looks good and everyone is happy. We interview to them. We coach to them. We promote because of them. We really try, and even it goes so far as to we look at the manufacturers we want to partner with, and and sometimes to a degree the customers we want to. But when it's all said and done, we got to be profitable. There's no question about that. If we're not profitable, we don't get to continue our business. But almost to the degree you talked about with having a business partner, these are people we spend a remarkable amount of time with. And we want them to be people that have those similar core values, that if if the neighbor kid comes into the business at some point and I know their parents and, I know their values, I want that person to be able to come in. I want that next employee. I want whoever that is to come in knowing they're at a good place where they're valued, that they're trusted, that they have the opportunity to grow, where they have an expectation to produce and contribute a level of success, but also to where they're willing to reciprocate that, and that's a big deal. But I don't think I think one of the things Dwayne and I've learned, and Nick and Meredith and Ashley and Jamie and Nick's here, I think they would all agree that you can't dictate culture. You can't sit there. You can try and lead by example. You can try and create opportunities to encourage it, but you can't dictate it. And I think that's where the more we've given our managers the autonomy to bring on and promote their own people, and we have the cultural component of our interview process, the team itself has really taken more ownership of it. And the team it's not something that it's not from a mountaintop. It's, the Drew Dagans and I said the Ashley Agnews and the Angies and et cetera, who are embodying it every day, and nobody's preaching it. It's literally just the way they act. And I think our customers and our manufacturers and our peers, and some of our competitors appreciate and respect it. And likewise, it's fun to see other companies who embody that, and we get to appreciate it when they do it as well.
I love the way you define it. I'm thinking about an old quote that I haven't thought about in like 15 years that has a religious context, but we can translate it into culture. And it was, go preach the religious creed, whatever you're out there preaching, and only when necessary, use words. And
it's a good way of putting it.
With you guys, because, you're right. You live it. It's, you can't be like, we do it, we have fun. We treat each other with respect here while you're just slamming someone or shaming someone.
Mm-hmm.
So words are hollow without action and without living it out. And so I love that you all recognize that things you often dictate, people need to see things. They don't necessarily they need to see it.
I think I'll use Nick Hughes as an example. Nick's our general manager, and a lot of people in the industry know Nick. He is as selfless and as caring towards his team as anyone I know. And I think he just beautifully embodies that culture. But I don't think he's ever told somebody how they need to, I don't even know if he would reference our core values as much as just people see how he lives out his life. He's not above anything. He will do anything for anybody. And I think that kind of permeates through the team. So it's people like Nick that you want to be proud to be associated with. So that's kind of where the culture comes from.
Heck yeah. Way to go, Nick. I love that guy. Jay Parker is in the house. Hey, yo, right back at you, my brother. I love it. Who's this? David Richmond. Hey, Dave.
Hey.
See ya, buddy. I've wanted to meet Chris. Well, this is like halfway there.
There you go.
Well, halfway there, and maybe at a show when those start happening again, you'll get to do it all the way.
Who was it that said they want to meet?
This is David Richmond.
Oh, okay.
David Richmond, and this is your buddy Nick Hughes. Nick, you the man. Tyler Clement is watching. Yo, Tyler, what's up, brother? Hope you're great. Chris, we all have tough moments. We all have days that it's hard to get up. We all have discouraging experiences. Tell me, do you have any go-tos in your world when you find yourself in that place and you're like, man, the fire that's often burning is really small today. I need to find some kindling and some wood and maybe a new match. What are some of those things for you that you go to sort of relight that?
That's an interesting question, because I think we'd be lying if I said that doesn't happen. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to say I wake up and hit the ground running and it's 90 miles an hour every day, but that's not the case. I think it's, I love loud music. Like, there's a lot of times in the car. I mean, sometimes I just need some really loud music, and that'll, not answering the phone and, throwing some Metallica or something like that on there, or some Dropkick Murphys, or just something that's, kind of gets you going. But you obviously can't just do that throughout the day, because at some point you got to get some work done. And I think the discipline of just sitting down and starting it, and just sometimes it's all you got to do is, use the equation of like exercising. Like the toughest part of exercising, which I should be doing more of, but is just putting your tennis shoes on. So like once you get your tennis shoes on and you step out the door, then you're kind of in motion, and next thing you know, you're on a tear and things. And sometimes it's just as simple as literally like, I know I've got to write that set of specs for a consultant, where I'm like, I just really don't want to do it. But just once you start it and once you get in motion, it's that at some point you're a freight train. So
I love the analogy. I think that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right. Probably something you're not looking forward to. Just getting started is the hardest part. So when you do that, the freight train, it starts picking up speed.
Yep.
Well done, man.
And if that doesn't work, just go back to the loud music. So
yeah. Well, I think music is one of those things. Music can set so many tones. If you need to calm down when you get home, or, you're going on a date with your wife, you need to bring down the day a little bit. I don't know, whatever those things are, you and your boys are going to go to a football game, get you in that spirit. Music is an incredible gift for that. And I love that Metallica is yours.
Well, I mean, there's a bunch. I love music. That's my wife and I, Aaron, we missed a lot of concerts, but that's with COVID. But they're all coming back in theory, at least. And so,
heck yeah. Who's this? Oh, Jay. Jay used to start his day listening to "I'm Number One," Nelly's. Do you know that song, Chris?
I don't know that one. I used to, back to the early Premiere days. Their office was in Alpharetta, and there was a song. It was called "My Morning Song" by the Black Crowes, and I'd turn left into the office park, and the way that they would ride, it would weave through. It was about a 7-minute song, and by the time I got to like the parking spot, then the backup singers are in full fledged, and Chris Robinson's got the back and forth, and it was almost like a church session, and just really loud, powerful, and then boom, ready to tackle the day. So probably should find, like, from the moment I enter our office park, what that song is that gets me there.
I love it. Someone, I think it was Jack Canfield, one of the guys that's one of my mentors, said a long time ago, confidence is simply built by surviving a risk. And you've, I'm sure, just looking at your career, you're a husband, you're a dad, you're in food service as a business owner, etc. Was there a risk that you took or a challenge that you overcame in your life that really sort of taught you, you know what, maybe I do have what it takes. I didn't think I could do that, or gave you a jolt of confidence in your journey?
I don't think it's going to be a career one. And I'll say probably because, and I'll answer that in a little bit of a roundabout way. When Dwayne and I started Chrane, we were both supremely naive to the amount of work and time and energy and different hats we'd have to wear to get it up off the ground. And that was a huge blessing. We were cocky and didn't have a clue what we were doing. And if we weren't that way, I'm not sure we would have had the gumption, ignorance is bliss type deal. I'm not sure we would have had the gumption. So to say it was a risk, I never really felt it was that much of a risk because I was too naive to think otherwise. It's not because it wasn't because I was supremely talented. It was because I was.
You had no idea what you were stepping into.
Correct.
Yep.
So, and I have family in this industry, and I grew up around it, and I felt like I knew enough of it to where I wasn't, despite what I didn't know, I never felt that as much as, if you're going to say take a risk, I would say probably the most challenging component was, let's say the 7-year itch of marriage. That's the point when my wife and I, we really started to go through infertility challenges. And it happened to coincide at the same time starting a new company. So, throw in some challenges with that. But we had, she was in Houston. She was the breadwinner. Dwayne and I didn't make any money to start. And so, it's also easy to say, you took the risk on a new company, but when you have a safety net like I did with Aaron, that certainly helped. And Dwayne had his wife, Cynthia, who she still worked. But so we were going through infertility, and I was commuting up to DFW from Houston. We still had our house in Houston, and to get the company started, and to go through that, and then to go through the surgeries and the heartache associated with that. It's tough on a marriage. Now, I'm happy to say we just celebrated 20 years of marriage. So obviously it wasn't that tough because we made it through on the other side. But, leading to that, and then leading to what was about a 3-year process to adopt our boys from Russia. The most amazing experience that I would do again, if given the option to do that over, I would do it, 101 times out of 100. I mean, I'd do it over without hesitation. But to say it wasn't without like fear and challenges and potentially a risk, that, I'd be flat out lying.
Yeah. For anyone, it's interesting. We're going through, my brother and sister-in-law have been going through infertility challenges for a while. Mm-hmm. And there's some hope right now, a lot of fun hope.
That's awesome.
Which is great. But for anyone that is going through that, watching in our community, certainly there are. Can you share a little bit about bringing the boys home and, mm-hmm. Your adoption experience?
Sure. Actually, you had given me an indication that this might be a topic we hit on, and I wanted to ask their blessing or their permission, sure, to have this conversation. And my wife's, we celebrate, Gotcha Day every year, and we're coming up on 11 years. It was, and you said earlier, give shout outs. It was amazing to have a business partner who says, go to Russia for 6 weeks. I got this. So pretty awesome in that regard to have that early in the company, particularly to have that safety net. But, it was a trying time. It was, do we go through the process of, are we just going to be the really cool aunt and uncle who spoil the hell out of, nieces and nephews and take them on trips and get them obnoxiously loud and big, gifts and things like that, and there were times, but ultimately what ended up being about a 3-year process and background checks and, FBI and Interpol and having to write a few essays and maybe some things I shouldn't have done in college. Maybe got myself in a little trouble, but so that was even before cell phones were a thing. So, it was an interesting and a trying process, but obviously remarkably rewarding. And we've got Fisher, who is 14, and August, who is 13, and they're both All-American boys. They're middle linebackers, and Augie's a swimmer, and Fish plays viola, and they both forget to do their homework and turn it in, and they need to get reminded to put deodorant on, and they give great hugs, and they're rowdy and awesome and fun and clever and knuckleheads and kind of everything you want in them.
What has being a dad taught you about you?
I'm not nearly as good of a communicator as I thought I once was. Telling how to do something and then the end results may be a little different. I'm not a naturally patient person either. The I'm not a naturally patient person, and I'm not naturally as empathetic as I should be. That process taught me a lot. I have to focus on it. I think I'm constantly reminded to slow down, and that, you know, no matter how much I may love the Chrane side of things, that, you know, there is a sense of, there's a temporary sense to Chrane. At some point, I'll retire, or Dwayne will get sick of me, whatever. But family's forever. And, there's also a certain amount of finite time that we have with them under our roof. And because of that, you try to figure out, maybe when they were younger, I was not as good about, trying to make sure I was home for dinner, or that I'd plan travel around a ball game or whatnot. And I'm realizing that there's less and less of that, and making it a point to love my customers, but sometimes they need to take a back seat. And I understand if they choose to do that with me too. So,
heck yeah. Chris, I love it, and I feel you. This was our friend Deirdre. More fingerprinting than you can ever imagine.
Yes.
What a wonderful family journey.
Yes, absolutely. Now there's, it was a fascinating process that I would do it again. I wouldn't want to necessarily do it again. So.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Do they speak any Russian? I didn't hear how old they were at adoption.
They can say Nostrovia, raise a glass. They can say, no, they really don't. They were 3.5. Fish was 3.5 when we adopted him, and Augie was 2.5. And, we learned a few Russian, sayings like "Don't touch the buttons" and "I love you," and things like that. But we were in such survival mode when they got home, just to try and keep them alive and love them, and so we've not done a good job of keeping Russian alive. Actually, we joked because Augie went into school as they had a dual language program with in pre-K that was English and Spanish, and we promptly realized he speaks 3 languages lousy versus 1. So we had to pare it down. Let's just focus on 1 language. So
there you go. Got it. Oh, yep. Chris, I love it, man. When COVID hit,
mm-hmm.
All of us looked at our businesses and thought, oh my gosh, no idea what's happening next. And there were a lot of, I'm sure there were a bunch of cool things that you all did to get through that time. But one of the cool things you did was you created the Chrane Community Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And can you talk about the Chrane Community Challenge, kind of how that came about? And I mean, obviously the fact that you all came up with this, you and Dwayne and your team,
mm-hmm.
there's a component to giving back that's a part of your firm. And look at any great organization. I mean, look at, Deirdre was just on, look what, NAFM did with Feeding America and all this kind of stuff. I mean, almost every company I look up to and admire, there's a not strategic, but an intentional commitment to service, to giving and caring. Talk about the Chrane Community Challenge and the importance of giving for you all.
It was, when we first hit COVID, it was like when COVID really ramped up. Aaron and I were in Boston for spring break with the boys, and Dwayne and I went back and I referenced it. It was kind of funny. I came across it at the end of last year. We sent this email out to the team, and we said, look, this could be bad. It could last up to a couple of weeks. Yeah. And we mapped out all the reasons why Chrane is prepared to how we're prepared to ride this out. We wanted our team to have a sense of security, and it was going to be okay. And part of it was a little self-serving. We we wanted to do something for the community. That's the outward side. Part of it was a little selfish, self-admittedly, though, is that we wanted our team to have a feeling like, you know what, we're okay as a company. We're going to look at this positively. We're going to make the most of it. And we looked at it and we said, for those who don't know what the Chrane Community Challenges is, basically the money we would have spent on customer meals and entertainment for, I think it was that 2-week period. We basically told our employees to go, and that's when people were really ramping up with the to-go food. We said, go spend that in your local community. And we gave them, I think it was like $400, $500 per employee, whatever it was, to go spend. And then it's supposed to be kind of like a pyramid thing. And we were then going to challenge other companies to do it. Now, where it got lost in translation, and again, I find we're maybe not as good a communicator as I once thought I was it was supposed to be you pass it on and then they adopt their own name into it. So like Hanson Group in Atlanta was one of the first to jump on board, and it was supposed to be the Hanson Community Challenge. And then I think they passed it on and Filter Corp took on, who we're not even associated with. And it was supposed to be the Filter Corp and the Greenwald Sales. And it was meant to be their name and their local. And somehow it got lost in translation and it just kind of kept going as the Chrane Community Challenge. And I always thought in the back of my head, like, that, does it come across a little self-serving that it's a marketing ploy just to have Chrane out there, versus if it had been the Greenwald Community Challenge again, or the Filter Corps or the Hanson Group, or the other folks that participated. So if I have a little bit of regret. It wasn't about the Chrane name getting out. It was about a way to take. And again, we were thinking of this as in 2 weeks we'll all be okay, type blip. Yeah, little do we know. So, but that's kind of how it took off, and it kept it kept expanding, and folks jumped on board. And Joe Carbonaro was nice enough to reach out, and he did a little story on it, and it kind of got a little bit more traction. And it was and that's an example of what countless people did. I mean, you started this people were just looking for ways to create something positive to look forward to and be excited about and believe in, when there was so much doom and gloom that we were hearing everywhere else.
Yep. It's well, I love when you can accomplish a lot of things in one moment, Chris, because you're able to give back, you're able to start something cool, you're able to throw some money into your communities, but that message to your team that we're okay, and we're going to show you by giving you some cash to go do something really good with. I think that's powerful, and I think that's really, really smart. Honestly, it's all the time, anytime challenge happens in our home, let's say, the first job becomes, let's make sure the kids know everything's okay, that we're going to get through this. And that's number one. So it makes a lot of sense. By the way, this is our friend Melissa with Greenwald Sales saying, "Ha! I'm learning for the first time now. It will always be the Chrane Community Challenge to us. You rocked it. Fist bump." I love it. Melissa, thanks for joining on to the Chrane Community Challenge. I love it. I love it. People didn't have to, right? They could have said, we're not sure about the times. We'll hold on to some cash right now. Melissa, fist bump to you. Boom. And everybody else who joined in. This is, hold on here. Oh, gosh. Hold on here. Sorry, it's Dan Shore.
Hey, Dan. I returned phone call. Sorry about that.
There we go. Lucky to have not only worked alongside this guy, but also to call him a great friend. Feel like a proud father. That's awesome. That's so great. What a story of humility. This is Rajiv. Rajiv, what's up? What a story of humility. Boom. We're glad you're here, my friend. You personally, because I get to see some fun stuff in your life. I know some stuff personally, and seeing what Chrane represents. A big word that comes to my mind is fun. In fact, if I were to give one of the things that I want to continue to cultivate that I am inherently not natural at, it's having fun for whatever reason, going and being silly or going and doing something that's going to make us all crack up or or that we'll remember forever. I don't know why. So has fun always been an integral part of your life? Like, did you learn that from someone or somewhere?
Oh, it definitely would have been from my family. I mean, my parents are, like they're late 60s, and I think they have a more active social life than I do. I mean, they're always out and about and having fun. But we had I grew up in a house that was, and it wasn't just my immediate family with my brother and my sister and my folks and aunts and uncles and cousins, and it was just a big, loud, boisterous German family, and we constantly were. And it didn't always. A lot of times, it wasn't like scheduled activities. It wasn't like it was we're going to go have fun and do this thing. It was just the nature of a lot of good-natured teasing and razzing, and you had to have pretty thick skin. You had to, a lot of pranks, a lot of my siblings and I put my mom through quite a bit. But so I'd say it came from that, and then it just kind of fed. I still have buddies from high school that I'm remarkably close with, and we still will sit around and play poker and drink too much and laugh about the stupid stuff that we did and we're constantly getting in trouble for. And just 2 weekends ago, I was up at Purdue with a group of college buddies, and we again, I keep seeing this theme of fun, but it just certainly carried over to Chrane. I love to have fun.
You talk about pranks. Is there is there a prank you can look back on and be like, oh snap, that was like wickedly good, that you're most proud of?
In a public forum.
Oh yeah, I guess you could temper it. You could find one that's appropriate.
Yeah, I gotta think about that one. That's in a man, because the first ones that come to mind are definitely not even. So Chrane used to have this HR approach where we just jokingly referred to it as like the Cold War, where if you build up enough on each other, nobody will ever push the button. And with just general obnoxiousness, and as we've grown, we've had to taper that back considerably. But pranks, I would say maybe we rented there's a thing to do in Central Texas where you float the Comal or Guadalupe rivers. Basically, you sit in a tube and you drink and enjoy the sun and listen to tunes. And to overly simplify it, the entire Chrane organization was overserved, and we stopped at a fireworks stand. And I don't know if I'd say pranks as much as just idiots, where we ended up having a bottle rocket war with each other, and some of it translated inside the rental house. So not the most mature moment, but it was certainly fun.
That's awesome, man. Oh my gosh. This is Robbie Lee. Does Chris like balloons?
I love balloons.
Talk to us about this. Why do you love balloons?
I hate balloons. I used to hate when my kids would fight over a balloon. And so for my birthday, they will fill up my entire office with balloons. And so I'll walk in and literally, when I say hundreds of balloons, like waist high, all over the floor. So that's probably that would have been a good one to share. That's so there's pranks like that are constantly ongoing. So
yeah, but I mean, bottle rockets and rental homes is fun too.
That is true.
Dwayne, all the April Fool's stories you have written about me over the years without my knowledge or permission. That's right. You guys are notorious for your April Fool's kind of announcements, right?
Yep, that's true. So the first one we did was, and I tell whoever, and Meredith does our marketing, I give it to her like the morning of and say, this is what's going out. That's always been kind of my fun. So one year, Chrane is Chris and Dwayne. So one year we sent out an announcement to everyone. It's now Dwiss. And we had people who like went in and changed it. We had to send out a retraction because so many people thought it was real. We had another one where it was an announcement of Dwayne's retirement, and it was set to the theme of Forrest Gump. We had another one where Dwayne, instead of the Young Lion, it was the Saltiest Tiger Award. So thank you for the reminder, Dwayne. There's a handful more of them. So
that's so great. Oh gosh, I love these. This is Josh Zielinski, the man, the myth, the legend. You have him. Boom, boom. Chris,
thank you, Josh.
You're the man, the myth, the legend. What is it about your work that you love? What do you love about what you do?
I think a few years ago, I probably would have said like the thrill of the hunt and like the competitiveness to go win a sale. And I don't know if that was always the healthiest, because my desire to not lose was greater than my love of winning, if that makes sense.
100%.
And I still love to win. Don't get me wrong. If it's me and a competitor and somebody's got to get the PO, like I want it to be me. I want it to be Chrane. But I would say where I've really evolved is I love collaboration. It could be sitting down with a child nutrition director, and the idea of like taking a blank sheet of paper and mapping out a serving line, or doing that same process with one of our design consultants, or sitting down with Dwayne and I just had a little getaway last week, what was supposed to be a pre-NAFM getaway, and we worked on our 2022 planning, and to just the ideation and the back and forth and the strategy that goes with that. And I think that's probably been an evolution of, I'm still really bad about it, my way or the highway, but I'm getting better. And I recognize that I need to continue to get better. But that ideation that goes back and forth, that you get to throw some creativity and some strategy and a couple different opinions, and boom, you got something that's really cool that's come out of it. So I'd say probably the ability to collaborate, because some really fun things have come out of it, particularly the last couple of years.
Heck yeah, man. I love it. I'm going to ask a random question because I know Allison's on, and you talked about collaboration, and we'll give a quick MOPSI pitch real quick, right? For any reps. One of the funnest parts of my career was being on the MOPSI board and simply being around people who thought big, who were doing cool things, and learning and bouncing ideas and having really cool, you've got a U-shaped table at our meetings when we got together twice a year and throwing ideas. Talk about the collaboration and the bouncing of ideas that happens, there, and what that's been like for you.
First of all, it's fascinating because I find like we get blinders on, like this is Texas, Oklahoma, like surely everything's like that everywhere else. And you find out that even though a lot of the common themes are there, rep group to rep group across, are those that are representing the different MOPSI territories, the local market conditions can vary wildly. And so, what we may be advocating is good for us is may be in fact a contradiction for what's good for, the New England territory or something like that. And you also think about, you try and make these almost like broad brush assumptions, and you find that, things like geography and dealer makeup and cost of living and population densities and the key market segments, all these different things that come into play, really create some unique scenarios where it's somewhat tough to create, again, these one size fits all scenarios. And so because of that, I think it forces you to look at it with a little bit more open mind. It also, where I think some of the take home I've gotten from it is it it allows you to hear perspectives that, we hadn't even considered for our own market. That, there's some really bright people in there. Kevin Eaton, who was the past president, and Tom Mitchell, who is the current president. They both come from, drastically different. You've got Alberta and you've got Florida. Obviously about as two ends of the spectrum as you can. But then you've got leadership though that comes at it from two different angles, but I think would say both comparably effective. And I don't know, I always feel like I come back from that having learned quite a bit, as well as feeling like, just feeling good about the industry. Like there's people who in those rooms that have some great ideas that could be very, I don't want to say selfish with it, but they're willing to go and put forth the effort that their competitor across town can thus potentially take advantage of. So, I don't know. There's an element of fellowship that I really enjoy from it.
I love it. Well said. I would agree with you. A lot of those people that were on that board, when someone's willing to risk, talk about taking a risk, right? I say a lot, relationship is a real result of taking a risk with another person. And you're right. Sometimes there can be, people who in some ways are competitors in that room. And when they're willing to share, hey, here's how I do it. And because I like, the amount of competitors I had in my career who would give me really great advice, very authentic. I'm sure they wouldn't share where all the bones were buried or everything like that, but they were very genuine in their desire to help me. And when you're in that room and you're doing that, it creates real, depth of relationship. You know what? There's another notch. Like, man, you just shared something with me I didn't expect. And I'm grateful. And now let me, give that back in some capacity, whatever that looks like. And it's a real gift.
Well, I think we're fortunate in our local market. We've got some really strong competitors. And in most cases, they're good people too. I had a beer last week, I think it was, with Matt Burden, the owner, one of the managing partner. I forgot his exact title, but with Edinger Rosini. We're competitors. It's his job to beat me. It's my job to beat him. But we can have conversations about how to be better in business and not feel like there's the other person's going to go run around and stab the other one in the back. So
I think that is, I would tell you that this community, the food service power plant community, that has been one of the core hopes that I've had, that the industry as a whole can relearn, because there are places where that doesn't happen, and can relearn how to go. And our desire is to win, and I get that. And to win, to win a job, it's me versus Matt, whatever. Matt's a good friend of mine too. So I'm trying to win against him. And at the end of the day, we can do what it takes to win, but then we can all have a beer, or we can all sit down and share a meal
or two.
Or a couple, right?
Or maybe a few more.
And who knows? Maybe if there's a few more bottle rockets happening in the restaurant. But we can reconnect, and we can still care for one another, and we can still remain committed to supporting one another, and whatever that looks like. And I appreciate you sharing that story and leading the way. Okay, a couple things real quick. How would you define success? What does success look like? It's a big word because we have lots of different aspects of our lives that matter. Certainly, we're all connected in food service and career, but I would say it's not the biggest of all the things that matter. But define success for you.
I think that's changed, and that's interesting you asked that, because Dwayne and I had some conversations along those lines. We're basically the halfway point of our careers. So if you're on the downslope, like what is it? What do you want your legacy to be? And I think there's, and maybe part of that is COVID, I feel like, has taught us, maybe we've all reevaluated our priorities a little bit. I know at one point, Crane's desire was, we were going to be the biggest rep group. That was it. That was, anything less than that would have not been successful. And I know for a fact we will continue to grow. I know we will continue to push ourselves, and we'll continue to push the envelope. But where I know we've evolved is we're now looking more at Joy and I want to be able to walk out the back door and nobody knows we ever left. Like that success will be that we have this new round of leadership that's come in. They embody our core values and as well, if not better than we did. That we have we've had a reasonable level of financial success to where we can be comfortable, but we haven't done so in the manner where it's been exploiting people along the way. And this is something we talk about internally, is that, if I'm going to get on my kid for something, for being less than honest, for not putting the effort in, then I need to hold myself to that same standard. And so ultimately to be able to say that we did it the right way. So that's, treated people well, played the game to win, but didn't cross any boundaries in the process to do so.
I love it, man. I love that. I love that there's a dream. I love that you both seem to be on the same page with it. And I love that there's a standard. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes the greatest builder of our belief in ourselves or competence is being able to hold to our own standards, creating them and sticking with them. When we start breaking those standards is when, we lose trust in ourselves or faith in ourselves. So I love that there's a standard, and I love that's the way you guys want to do it.
No, and I want to have fun. I want to continue to have fun. I want to run up a big bar tab because, you know what, it wasn't in the budget, but we were having fun. I want to, to do something whimsical because, you know what, why not? Did it make business sense? Not necessarily, but was it fun? Sure. Yeah. So, and I think that's the beauty of, as small as our businesses are and as nimble as they are, we can go do those things and not have to answer to anyone for it other than just, let's have some fun. So.
I love it. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that and say that that's how they live their story? Right? Okay, a couple things. It's fun that you talked about legacy and that's sort of our last question in terms of defining success, how you want to go out, how you want to be remembered. So it's fun when you get to learn, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't. I'm sure to some degree you do. Okay. But that the things that you hope to have accomplished, the legacy you hope to leave, that you're on track or you're off track, right? I mean, if someone came on here and was like, I want to do these things, and they just have a history and a legacy of tearing people up and leaving, car wrecks of human beings behind them in businesses, then we've got to figure out, okay, well, where you're saying you want to go and what you've done don't totally match up. Let's figure out why. Mm-hmm. But it's fun to hear the affirming moments that give you, as you're at the halfway point in your career, Chris, know that I'll tell you you're on the right track.
Oh, thank you.
From me, because I know you to some degree, but from some of your peers. And I'm going to read just a couple words from some of your peers.
Okay.
And the ways that you've affected them and the legacy that you've already left. And you've got more to come. And I hope I'm a part of one of those really big bar tabs one night.
There you go.
I can't wait. But you're doing good. I'm going to read from our mutual friend, Tom Mitchell, the current president of MOFSI. I had written a couple people. I said, hey, would you want to say a couple words about Chris? And Tom writes back within like 5 seconds. I'd like to say a few words about Chris. Boom. I worked directly with Chris on the Rep of the Future Committee. His attention to detail, his ability to see the big picture has led me to tag him the smartest guy on the committee.
I don't know about that, but that's nice of him.
I look forward to working with Chris on other MOFSI projects as well. Tom, boom.
Thank you, Tom. That's awesome. I think it's overstated, but it's really awesome. Thank you.
Our brother Chris Jeans up in Canada, another fellow MOFSI president and Canadian, and a guy that loves to have fun, and
fantastic musician.
Exactly, music moves that dude. I have come to know Chris as an extremely passionate and dedicated rep. He mixes his desire to elevate his business reps in the industry with a very clever sense of humor, something I truly appreciate and I've learned from personally. The initiative Chris and Chrane and Dwayne started at the onset of COVID, the Chrane Community Challenge, was truly inspirational to me.
Wow, that's really nice. Thank you, Chris.
Joe Carbonera.
Uh-oh.
Oh, snap. With Zumba Group. If you know Chris East, there's a pretty good chance he's one of your favorite people in the food service industry. That's because Chris is fun but focused. He works hard, yet he knows how to have fun. He leads by example. Chris's rapport is equally as good with customers, manufacturers, and his fellow craniacs, pronounced craniacs. His fellow reps admire Chris's thoughtfulness and will reach out to pick his brain. True story. The factories that Chrane represents value his perspective and also ask for him to sit on their rep councils. And then he talks about here about the Chrane Community Challenge and how that really inspired him. And then he called you and wrote the story. But he talks about that and said, those guys truly lead by example. What a great word, right? It's not just words. That came up a couple times tonight. You're not trying to dictate to something or tell people how it's supposed to go. You live it. Nick Hughes, on behalf of all the craniacs. While Chris loves working a room, he doesn't like the spotlight for accolades or awards. He wants to share the spotlight with his teammates, even when it is Chris that truly deserves that honor or spotlight. He is a selfless giver, a man that loves his whole team with his whole heart, and we love him back. Chris will bombard us with countless bullet points and emails to go get that follow-up done. And while we give him a hard time for it, his drive, his attention to detail, and his desire to see both Chrane and the individual success are the driving forces behind the methodic madness. Chris's detail and determination are a big part of why we are a successful group and why we push ourselves to be better every single week. He leads by example. He and Dwayne both. Chris will not ask you to do something he's not willing to do, currently doing, or hasn't already done. You can be anybody, including a direct competitor. And if you pick up the phone to ask for help or an honest opinion, he will give it to you straight. And then he will follow up to see how things went or are going for you. Chris is generous with his time and his resources. For a man that has the most jam-packed work and social schedule I have ever seen, he is dedicating time and resources to others where needed. I'm not sure when he sleeps. Lastly, he's an outside-the-box thinker. I mean, way out there. Hey, Nick, I was thinking about you in the shower this morning is a common phrase he'll use to throw you off center, but following that statement is usually a great marketing or strategy idea that he thought of when he wants to share and discuss with you. Nick, you're the man.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
Chris Lawson from Cambro.
Cool.
When asked about Chris East, the first thing that pops in my head is indispensable. He's an amazing family man, leader, sales rep, and he always puts others first. Cambro would not be growing like it is without the help of Chris East and the team at Chrane. Chris is always professional in his approach. He gives credit to his team and is always willing to go out of the way to give help. He is always appreciative of others, and he acknowledges them accordingly. In addition, Chris is always willing to go above and beyond to help out the team at Chrane, the manufacturers they represent, and the customers that they work with. Chris is really available anytime, day or night. He has an amazing work ethic. He's excellent at problem solving and is always looking at the future. He will always make sure to go the extra mile when taking care of a problem. If we could figure out a way to hire 100 more Chris's, then Cambro would be unstoppable.
And they'd be driven nuts is what would happen.
I feel very fortunate to know and to get to work with Chris East.
Thank you, Chris. That's awesome. That's really kind of you.
Mutual friend Allison Cody from Mofsey. By the way, who's this? This is your buddy, or both our buddy, Carl Kisner. Both of you are successful because you make others better just knowing you. Carl, love to you, my friend.
Thank you,
and this is, side note, Joey Eves. When you mention words like success and fun, that's Chris East and Chrane. The entire Chrane team wants all of us to be successful and have fun. We love Chrane. Friggin' love it, Joey.
That's awesome, Joey. Thank you.
Allison Cody. Chris East is a leader. He's one of the industry's best. He has a way of energizing people, building their enthusiasm to do their best. And like all great leaders, he leads by example. He brings enthusiasm and his best to everything he does with Mofsey, with his customers, and his rep firm. We're fortunate to have a leader like him on the Mofsey board, and I'm fortunate to have him as a friend and a colleague.
Thank you, Allison.
Well, it can be kind of fun to know. It's not always fun. I remember meeting with a customer one day, and I was getting feedback from them on how I was doing. Mm-hmm. And we were on this rooftop bar sharing a drink, and I was like, "How am I doing on a scale of 0 to 10?" And I'm thinking I'm like an 8. He's like, "You're like a 4.5." And I needed to bob and weave. I didn't see it coming. I needed to bob and weave and make some changes. Yep. But I appreciated the feedback because it gets me on track. Mm-hmm. Here's the good news, Chris. You're on track. And you're doing great things. You'll notice the themes that were throughout all those messages, right? Giving to others, above and beyond, always helping. These, you're doing it great. And so let that be your feedback to stay on course. And we have a teeny bit more feedback for you from a mutual friend of ours. Oh,
yeah, I know that guy. Going good, Ray.
Yes.
Yeah, so Jason asked me if I would sit in and sit in the background and make sure that we keep this thing honest here. So, surprise.
How'd he do, Dwayne?
You know what? He did excellent. I got to say, it's awesome to sit here and watch something like this take place. Chris is a great man. He's a great dude. He's a great partner, great father. He's a great leader in our company. I can't tell you the ideas that this guy comes up with. It is sometimes it just absolutely pisses me off. It's like I haven't even had a chance to digest the last 5, and now you're putting 4 more on top of me. Nick Hughes made the comment, and early when we started Chrane, he would literally call me. He's like, "Hey, dude, I'm in the shower. I don't want to forget this one. And if you think it has legs, then I'll have an action plan by the time I'm dressed and at the office." Like, you got to be kidding me, man. This is insane. So it's all of the things that you guys have heard are 100% true. I think it's honestly back in the day when Chris and I first met each other and had an opportunity to start sharing ideas. You know, much like Chris said, we thought we were smarter than everybody else. We had our own ways of doing it. And we said, you know what, we're just going to plow this thing over, having no idea what it would take and what was in store for us. And, you know, looking back, you know, it's like, hey, ding dongs, why didn't y'all ask, you know, how do you open a corporate checking account? How do you deal with a line of credit? How do you motivate employees without pissing them off? You know, all of these different things. We just said, you know what, this is our way and we're going to do it. And that's always been Chris is, you know what, we're just going to do it. If it backfires, you know what, we'll ask forgiveness later, but we've got an idea. We've got a plan. He always has a vision, and he makes us all that know him better because he's just that guy. And at the end of the day, he does care. He really cares a lot. And I'm proud to have him as my partner in crime. So
you usually refer to me as your work wife.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that are tremendously similar than as a marriage. I won't give my typical spiel on that since we're live.
When we're running up that big bar tab.
There you go. Everyone keeps coming back to the shower comment. So I read a deal the other day. It's like the shower is one of the very last places where you can truly be bored. Like there's no, like, you know, there's no TV, there's no cell phone, there's no book, there's no conversation with other people. Like then you get lost in your thoughts, and that's when the creativity kicks in. So
I love it.
So
I think that happens to me too. You know, I mean, I'm always thinking about something, whether it's the day or whatever's going on. My mind's going somewhere else. I guess after, I don't know how many times I've washed my hair in my life, you know, like 30,000 times or whatever it is at this point. But you get bored, so it's got to go somewhere to get creative.
Yep, exactly.
Dwayne, you're the man. This is so fun that you jumped on. I'm glad the technology worked.
I am too, and I'll tell you, this is about Chris. This is his deal. I appreciate him. I know all of our team very much appreciates him. Our factories, our customers. You know, the guy, he goes out and he's the face of our business and keeps us ingratiated with a ton of people. There are many times if it was me, we probably would have got fired a long time ago and maybe out of business and lost a lot of people because, well, hell, even one of our employees the other day, you know, as we were texting when Chris and I were meeting, said, "Oh, great, Dwayne's hungover, so he's probably grumpy." So. You know, that's the awesome thing. Everybody might tell you something about partnerships, how they, you know, they can be this or they can be that, or you have to have it this way, or you'll never make a decision. And I say phooey on every bit of that. When you find the right fit, you find it. You know, Chris and I kick and scream and you know, we fight each other like nobody's business. Fortunately, hopefully, it's done. You know, when we make better decisions we did in the past. You know, a lot of those we'll do behind closed doors versus in public. But you know, but that's the good thing, though. That's almost the genius behind it. Is, you know, one's got to be here and one's over here, and then you just when you work your way towards the middle. And Chris said it earlier. All of a sudden, it's like, holy cow! You know, I didn't see it that way, nor did I. And here we are with something that that is very special. So. I'm a fortunate cat. So
that's Meredith.
It's funny. Oh, it was Meredith.
Yep.
That's awesome. Hey, Meredith. Well, I love what you guys have. And Dwayne, thanks for coming on and sharing your love for your partner here. I think that's awesome. Chris, thanks for giving us this whole food service power plant community, an hour of your time and your story in some really vulnerable parts of your story that people may or may not have known. And it's all of that make you special for being willing to share it. And this is a place where hopefully everyone learned. You guys, if you didn't recognize the themes tonight in Chris's story and what Crane's doing, what they're doing, you know, going out of your way to help others, being a little bit OCD, you know, having different minds in a room when you're going to come up with decisions, think about where we're going, looking to the future, finding a way to make it happen regardless. You know, there's so many awesome, and lastly, you got to have fun. What's worth it if you're not having fun along the way? You know, in our relationships with our families, in our businesses, fun is that thing a part of that thing that really makes it all worth it. Right. And, to both of you, thanks for leading the way and keeping it fun. Everyone watching, a couple of things. First, this conversation will be on YouTube. Remember, Food Service Power Plant has a YouTube channel. If you're there, you can get it. You can send it out to anybody you want. It's free. You know, distribute as you like. Look at other previous conversations. There's so many words of wisdom and insights from our industry leaders there for you to learn from. Remember, the idea is that you can take it into your own life, you can absorb it, you can make changes where necessary, and improve upon your story, accomplish things you didn't think previously. Also, if you want, if you're watching, you're part of our community. If you see this on YouTube, you can be a part of our community by going to Facebook, looking up Food Service Power Plant Network. You can also go to the website, fspowerplant.com. There's a link, join the community, boom, right there. We'll keep growing that. One of the things we're going to grow is a resources tab for all the cool things food service people are doing to serve others. And so that will be going up. And lastly, here's what I would say to everybody. Chris and I were talking before, I asked him a question about when he wakes up and it's a bad day or it's a hard morning and the fire's not lit. I know that it's some tough times right now. You know, the world's a weird place, and it feels like it's getting a little bit weirder. And if you're looking at around you, and it's easy to look at other people and see accomplishments and cool things, or seeing it on social media, recognize that we all have hard stuff. Today was a hard day at home for us. I was telling Chris before when we got on. And so you're figuring out work and you're figuring out personal and how you manage it all. So if you're in a tough spot, the first thing to do, I think Tim Irie said it, was it's not your fault, right? Of course you are. There's a reason you're in a hard spot, and we've all been there, and we're all going through it one way or another. Your job is to keep friggin' moving. Keep finding ways to have fun. Keep finding ways to smile. Keep finding ways to learn. Go get the help you need if that's what you need in your journey at this point. But keep stinking going, because what you're experiencing right now, if you're in a tough spot, this isn't your forever moment. You know, there is so much joy ahead. So do us a favor, the three of us, keep moving. Everybody, from Chris, from me, from Dwayne, lots of love to you. Keep growing. Remember to stay connected to one another. Continue to find ways to inspire those around you and yourself, and keep growing. It's not fun if we're not learning something and growing in some way and doing something different. So keep doing those things. Fellas, love it. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody, we'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.